Welcome to our continuing series, Questions and Answers, from the works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Today, Union with the Divine, Part 2, from Sri Aurobindo. What you describe, dullness, uneasiness, weakness, feeling old and worn out or ill, are the reactions that come when the inertia of the physical nature is resisting the light. The others, about sense of feeling dignity, self-respect of the ego, are the reactions of the vital. Both must be refused acceptance. There is only one aim to be followed: the increase of the peace, light, power, and the growth of a new consciousness in the being. With that new consciousness, the true knowledge, understanding, strength, feeling will come, creating harmony instead of revolt and struggle, and union with the divine consciousness and will. The whole principle of this yoga is to give oneself entirely to the divine alone, and to nobody and nothing else, and to bring down into ourselves, by union with the divine mother power, all the transcendent light, force, wideness, peace, purity, truth consciousness, and ananda of the supramental divine. In this yoga, therefore, there can be no place for vital relations or interchanges with others. Any such relation or interchange immediately ties down the soul to the lower consciousness and its lower nature, prevents the true and full union with the divine, and hampers both the ascent to the supramental truth consciousness and the descent of the supramental Ishvara Shakti. The true divine Ananda in the physical has a different quality and movement and substance. Self-existent in its essence, its manifestation is dependent only on an inner union with the divine. The aim of the yoga is to open the consciousness to the divine, and to live in the inner consciousness more and more, while acting from it on the external life, to bring the inmost psychic into the front, and by the power of the psychic to purify and change the being, so that it may become ready for the transformation and be in union with the divine knowledge, will, and love. Secondly, to develop the yogic consciousness, that is, to universalize the being in all the planes, become aware of the cosmic being and cosmic forces, and be in union with the divine on all the planes, up to the overmind. Thirdly, to come into contact with the transcendent divine beyond the overmind and through the supramental consciousness, supramentalize the consciousness and the nature, and make oneself an instrument for the realization of the dynamic divine truth and its transforming descent into the earth nature. Your argument that because we know the union with the divine will bring Ananda, therefore it must be for the Ananda that we seek the union, is not true and has no force. One who loves a queen may know that if she returns his love, it will bring him power, position, riches, and yet it need not be for the power, position, riches that he seeks her love. He may love her for herself, and could love her equally if she were not a queen. He might have no hope of any return whatever, and yet love her, adore her, live for her, die for her, simply because she is she. That has happened, and men have loved women without any hope of enjoyment or result. Loved steadily, passionately, after age has come and beauty has gone. Patriots do not love their country only when she is rich, powerful, great, and has much to give them. Love for country has been most ardent, passionate, absolute, when the country was poor, degraded, miserable, having nothing to give but loss, wounds, torture, imprisonment, death as the wages of her service. Yet, even knowing that they would never see her free, men have lived, served, and died for her own sake, not for what she could give. Men have loved truth for her own sake, and for what they could seek or find of her, accepted poverty, persecution, death itself. They have been content even to seek for her always, not finding, and yet never given up the search. That means what? That man, country, truth, and other things besides can be loved for their own sake, and not for anything else, not for any circumstance or attendant quality or resulting enjoyment, but for something absolute that is either in them or behind their appearance and circumstance. The divine is more than a man or woman, a stretch of land, or a creed, opinion, discovery, or principle. He is the person beyond all persons, the home and country of all souls, the truth of which truths are only imperfect figures. And can he then not be loved and sought for his own sake, as and more than these have been by men, even in their lesser selves and nature? Only when the divine presence is there in us, always, and the consciousness transformed, can we have the right to say that we are ready to manifest the divine on the material plane. To hold up a mental ideal or principle and impose that on the inner working brings the danger of limiting ourselves to a mental realization, or of impeding or even falsifying by a halfway formation, the true growth into the full communion and union with the divine, and the free and intimate outflowing of His will in our life. This is a mistake of orientation, to which the mind of today is especially prone. It is far better to approach the divine for the peace or light or bliss that the realization of Him gives, than to bring in these minor things which can divert us from the one thing needful, the divination of the material life also, as well as the inner life, is part of what we see as the divine plan. But it can only be fulfilled by an outflowing of the inner realization, something that grows from within outwards, not by the working out of a mental principle. Namaste.